Hi again. This is Deb Tallman, the league coordinator here in Southeast Michigan. This is our first meeting for our 2017 Winter Mix and Team Singles Captains meeting. It's just 6 o'clock. I'm sure we'll have a few more people coming in, but I wanted to let all of you that are here right now know that we will be doing a recording, so if you do miss something with this, we will have something posted on our district website hopefully by the end of the week. We have one more webinar tomorrow, and then it's just a question of getting everything together and getting it posted on the web. We'll wait here just a couple more minutes. We're expecting about 40 people, and I see about 20 in here right now. So just again, so that you know, we are doing a recording, and those of you that are in right now, if you take a look, there should be a place where you can pose questions. We don't have anyone able to talk on the phone. We would prefer that you go ahead and type in your questions. If I see them as we're going along, I'll try to get to them. If not, I may wait until the end to answer all the questions. Sometimes it gets a little tricky, and sometimes the questions may be a little more in-depth and better handled at the end of the meeting. I'm not expecting to go any more than an hour tonight. In fact, I'm not sure we'll even go an hour. We'll see how things go. Like I say, if you do have any questions, please type them in, and we'll go from there. So, whoops. First thing here is just a reminder for our district website, www.semich.usta.com. And there's a lot of information on our district website. You would want to go to this site to find out things that are specific to Southeast Michigan. We are also on Facebook. I know we have a lot of adult followers. Some of you participated last year in selecting the t-shirt design for the playoffs. So hopefully everyone takes a look here at our Facebook page. This is also where we post photos of the teams that win. We post them there, and then people with Facebook accounts can also grab the photos that we've taken. We are also on Twitter, so please, we're almost everywhere. So those of you that want to follow us, go ahead and get in there and see what's going on with us. As you see from this, we are still in the top 10. We're actually the 6th largest league, individual league in the country. It takes into account all of our leagues, and I want to thank you guys as captains, because you're the ones that are running the teams, forming the teams, getting people involved, and keeping people busy out on the courts. And without you, we wouldn't have nearly as good a program as we do here. Update on our incentives for this year. There is still the free US Open hat, and that is available for new membership people only. When they go in to purchase their USTA membership online, they'll want to use the code ORG17. We also have a district incentive available for people that had been playing but for whatever reason haven't played for the last 5 years. Those people that do come back, we'll do a $20 rebate to those players. We have those rebate forms located on our website, and that is located under the Member and Community Incentives tab, which would be on the left-hand side of the home page when you go to semich.usta.com. We also plan to continue our league loyalty program for our long-standing captains. We do this every spring, so we're looking at captains that have served for 5 consecutive years and 10 consecutive years, and we send out something to those captains. Reminder for information that's due from you as captains. We have a captain's agreement that's online, as you see here. This is our district web page under USTA League Tennis. The captain's agreement is right up here on top. It'll take you just a couple seconds to sign it. This is where you went probably to sign up for the meeting, and this is where we will have the new recordings if you care to listen again. Sorry. Again, we do need the captain's agreement in place by the due date of next Monday at noon. We need team minimums and captain's agreements in by noon next Monday. This is just a copy of the beginning of the captain's agreement. We're primarily using this as a place for you to just remind you again that you need to look over the rules again and just keep yourselves up to date on what's going on, and that just to jog your memory to take a look at things. And also, this is where we pull your preferred phone number from, so that when we do our flight assignments and we send out the flight contact information for all the captains, we know which email and which phone number you want to be used, and we'll forward that to the other captains in your flight. But we need that ahead of time so that when we're doing scheduling, we're able to get all of that information in the right place. Okay. I wanted to just talk about a few things that come up, and one of the biggest things that comes up has to do with rescheduling. And our rescheduling rule is the same as it's been for several years. We periodically do a little tweaking to it, but we really haven't done much to it lately. First thing with the indoor seasons, and again, we have the shorter seasons, especially for mixed, and even for singles, it's a shorter season than the summertime is. And when we have these indoor seasons going on, rescheduling just becomes even more of a challenge. Please try to play your schedule wherever you can. Clubs don't really have a whole lot of open space, and they generally give us what's left. So if you're in a spot that you aren't particularly crazy about as far as court time is, it's probably because that's the best we had. We try to use the best times that they give us, but they're limited as well. They have other programs running, and we use what they give us. With rescheduling, your new date and time has to be in place and reported to the district office prior to the original match date. You can't wait until the day of the match or the day after the match to try to reschedule it. All of the nuts and bolts have to be in place before the original match date. Both captains have to agree to the reschedule. Exceptions will be made for teams on the weekend if they're scheduled to play at states or sectionals for combos with this league. But we really need both captains to work together and come up with something that works for both. But if we do have teams that are going to be going to those events, we won't penalize a team in a local match so that they can go to a championship match. We also have a deadline on how late into the season you can reschedule. We have an ending date for every season, and that's printed on the team summary page in red at the top of your team summary page on Tennis Link. That's the Sunday of that last weekend is the last date that your flight exists, and you can't schedule past that. You have to schedule before the league season ends. So you may be playing on a Friday or Saturday, but at least for our indoor seasons, we're able to push it at least until Sunday. So you might be able to squeeze something in there after your last regularly scheduled match, but not past that Sunday. That weekend that's posted on Tennis Link is the latest that you can play any matches in your flight. You can't do anything past that. And again, Tennis Link will be updated with the new date and time information as far as your reschedule goes and as far as when your last date in your flight is. Does anybody have any questions about rescheduling? Okay. Now, what if I can't reschedule? The winter leagues are all three-court matches. Reminder that to field a legal match, you have to play at least 2 courts. So if you can't reschedule and you still have 2 courts that can play, that's a legal match. You should try to play that match with the 2 courts that you have rather than reschedule it. Play at least the 2. If you must forfeit a court, it has to be third doubles during this season, or it has to be the third singles and team singles. For an individual court forfeit, if you give at least 24 hours notice, let the club know and the other captain know your team is not responsible for the cost of the court. And that 24-hour notice doesn't have anything to do with the total team default, though. I'll talk about that in just a second here. But if you have to drop an individual court, your team is not financially responsible as long as you give the 24-hour notice. If you don't, your team is responsible for all court costs associated with that forfeited court. In mixed, that's $60. In team singles, that's $36. I don't have a total team default slide, but just as a mention to you, with a total team default, any team that does either just not play or is unable to field at least 2 of the 3 courts, that team's responsible for all match monies for that match. The club was anticipating revenue, match didn't occur, they may or may not have been able to sell the court. But in any case, if your team is unable to field at least 2 of the 3 courts, your team is going to be responsible for all of the match fees. So if you have any questions, please feel free to send me an email, and we can talk about that rule. Okay, winter leagues. I know that's just the site everyone wants to see. Like, we can't walk outside and see that right now. We do have winter mixed doubles going on again. This is our first session for the 18 and over mixed. Our committee is very well aware that there's been some concerns about our compromise of the split seasons in 2015 and 16, as well as the shortened seasons that we've tried to put in place for this year. We hear you, but our committee is committed to following this through for this season. All 4 of the seasons will run their course this year, but discussions are taking place. The primary reason why we split them out into these 4 groups is to offer more opportunities for people to play. But what we've ended up with are these shortened seasons. Just as a reminder, this season as well will only be 1 round robin. All the seasons are approximately 6 weeks in length. Each session offers a total of 6, 7, or 8 matches. It depends on the flight size. We can't promise you what you're going to have, but that's what we're shooting for as we do scheduling. So 6, 7, or 8 matches. Just the biggest thing I can say for you is just be careful of your roster size. You no longer can really afford to have a huge roster, at least until you see maybe you are a lucky one and end up with 8 matches. If you only have 6, you certainly don't want or need as many people. So please be careful with that. The Winter League 18 and over mixed matches can be played on Friday nights. We would prefer that you focus in and try to use Friday night as your night. But Saturdays and Sundays can be used in just this season coming up. The next round of mixed, the next 40s and the next 18s will be in the spring and the summer, and we will completely convert to our Friday night time that we normally use in the summer. It says here we will have 2 more league seasons. The 40 and over will repeat again, start up in mid-May and go through June, and then we'll have another 18s that'll start up mid-July and go into August. Slide 2, I'll leave this up for a little bit if anybody wants to take notes on it. I broke out for you on this slide when all the actual play start dates are for each of the leagues. So we're looking at January 20th for the upcoming season in the 18 and over. You'll be scheduled every weekend, Fridays, Saturday, Sunday. Throughout that season, you may not have a match every season. It depends, or every week. It depends if there's a bye. But our goal is to hit every weekend coming up here with a couple skips with some playoffs in there possibly too for some other events. Our tentative date for playoffs on this, we've listed it out as March 10th, 11th, and 12th. I can't imagine that it'll take us 3 days to play it. It'll probably just be a 1-day event like this past session was, but that gives you an idea to block out that weekend. Our spring session will start up in May. Matches will start May 12th. Every weekend, Friday only. Of course, we'll skip Memorial Day, and I think we'll be finished in this one right before the 4th of July. Then season 4, we plan to start up June 30th, which is right there around the 4th of July, and every weekend. And I guess I should have included also, we may need to switch over to Tuesdays like we do to avoid the August playoffs to complete this league. And then playoffs for that league will be the end of September, as well as the winners from season 1 in the 40s and season 3 in the 40s will play each other to determine who advances to states. The season 2 winner, which is your league coming up, and the season 4 winner, those winners will play each other to determine who goes to states. Any questions? Okay, I want to talk about singles. I know I've got a mixture of some singles and some doubles captains, or for mixed doubles, but our singles league is 3 courts of singles. Match fees, $18 per player per match. Players must play at their rating. The system is set up so that it won't let you register unless you have that rating. So hopefully no one's able to slide in there. Singles matches do not impact your year-end computer ratings. Warm-up for singles is 5 minutes, and this is included in the 90 minutes scheduled for each match. Just as a reminder, everyone should be starting at the same time. The home team should set one timer for all 3 courts. So if you're scheduled to start at 2, get down there at 2, a little after 2, hopefully not too much because you've got 5 minutes. The timer gets set for either to time the warm-up. Fine, everybody starts. The key part in the timing of this league, though, is when do you stop it. The matches stop with 5 minutes remaining. So if you started at 2 o'clock, this match is over at 3:25. If you didn't get down to the courts until 2:15, this match still ends at 3:25. Our clubs have set their courts up knowing that this is a timed league. So if they've scheduled courts at 2 o'clock, it's finished at 3:30. If people don't get down there in time, you've lost that time in your match. So all timers set to stop the matches should all stop with 5 minutes remaining from that 90 point, from the point that you begin. In this league, points that are in play when time expires do not count. So if you're in that 50-point rally and time is up, just stop, because that point's over. That one's not going to count. So you go back to where you were before you started that point. With single scores, they do go into Tennis Link, and again, they don't count in your rating, but they are in Tennis Link so that we can use that function. You can see standings and everything. When you input your matches, normally Tennis Link defaults to the phrase completed. If you don't finish the match, you replace that with timed match. Do not select retired. Choose timed match. You input the scores from the winner's perspective, not from the left or the right side of the scorecard. So if someone has won, they lost the first set 4-6, and they win the second one 7-5, it goes in 4-6, 7-5. Has nothing to do with where they are on the card. If at the time, when the time runs out and you haven't finished, what you do is you add up all the games that have been played. If one person has one more game than the other one, they win the match. If games are tied at that point, you play one more point to break the tie. When you input it in Tennis Link, that goes in entered as a full game. And I know it's not a full game, but again, remember, these don't affect your ratings. So it's just a way to calculate and be able to see who won. If you're split on sets and you play one more point, you should go in and score this as as if it was a full third set tiebreaker. So 6-4, 4-6, and you played 1 point in the tiebreaker, and then it goes in as 1-0. Any questions on how to input scores for the singles league? Okay. Well, I just talked about what happens when time runs out. Again, if you're in a third set tiebreaker, that was one that I didn't mention. If you're in a third set tiebreaker and one player is ahead, that player is the winner. If you're tied in the tiebreaker, again, play one more point to determine the winner. Whoever the current server is would serve. I'll just repeat again. If you're in a first or second set or just split sets, add up the total completed games. If one person's ahead, they're the winner. If they're tied, play one more point. The next server in rotation would serve the 1 point, and the receiver gets to choose the side that they would receive on. So if I'm the next person supposed to be serving, my partner gets to tell me which side I have to serve it to. I know I have a lot of regular captains, and you've probably seen this slide, but we just want to remind you again that our matches are unofficiated matches. You cannot solicit outside help to call lines or foot faults or to resolve on-court disputes. The players are responsible for taking care of that within their own match. You as captain, you should try to let those players on court work it out. If things are getting heated and you do need to get involved, the first thing I can't strongly enough suggest to you is get the other captain to go with you. If you have to go in and talk to those players, at least you go in together. That way everyone's on the same page. But ideally, everyone should be able to work out their disputes on court. We do have a copy of the code online at our website. It's a good document to take a look at, to see, how to handle sticky situations. But the two that I've pulled out, generally if they're followed, the other issues don't come into play. And as it says in there, the first item in the code is courtesy is expected. Tennis is a game that requires cooperation and courtesy. If everyone kind of tried to think in terms of what I like to be treated and treat everyone else like that, things might be a little happier on the court. Also, with number 6, your opponent gets the benefit of the doubt. And sometimes I know you might feel like you're being taken advantage of, but it's better to fall to that side than it is to start doing things that may just aggravate the situation. If everyone gave everyone else the benefit of the doubt, no one would be questioning calls. I see I have some questions here, and I'm kind of at the end of things right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up the next slide, which gives you some information about what's going on for the summer leagues. I know a lot of people want to know about that. I'm going to let that slide up while I start answering these questions. So one person wants to know if a person is late, is there a point penalty? Our rules don't follow the same path that is taken when you have officials to time out. If you're 5 minutes late, it's this and that. Our rule simply says you have 10 minutes. If you're on court and ready to play within 10 minutes, you're forfeiting your warm-up time, but you're good to go. If you're 11 minutes late or later, it's a forfeited court. Now, that said, if you see someone running like crazy across the lobby and you're at minute 10 or 11, yes, they're late, but we want you to play. If someone's there and they're making tracks for the court, you should play that match. Again, when you have someone that is late or you're going to take it as a forfeit, you need to make that perfectly clear amongst the players on that court that this is now a forfeited court. Mark the scorecard. Do not go down there and play until it is perfectly clear on that scorecard that someone has won or lost this match. Because if you go down and play, quote, for fun, unquote, and it hasn't been made clear, somebody's going to think that they're playing for real. So just make that real clear if you're going to take something as a forfeit. Someone else wants to know why there's a timer for singles and not any other league. We only use timed matches for team singles because that was just the way we set the league up. It was a way to be able to get singles into the club during the indoor season and be able to offer it at a reasonable rate for people to play. Sometimes singles matches can go on forever, and we just thought it would be the best way to work with the clubs to be able to get a USTA league in for singles, to have a time limit on that. What do you do if the game is 30-40 and the buzzer goes off? That's not a completed game, so that won't count in your count for number of games won or lost. You can only count the completed games. So I've got one more question. What if total games are tied and in the following game it's 15-30? Does the person leading 15-30 win the match, or do you still play one more point? No, because you'd play one more point, because if the total games are tied and you're in a game that's not finished yet, that game won't count in the total. So you're still tied, so you'd play one more point for the win. Okay, got another one here. I'm not sure if I understand. We have to finish singles matches 5 minutes earlier. We play 85 minutes, not 90. You actually play 80 minutes because the first 5 minutes would be your warm-up. So yes, you would stop with 5 minutes remaining. Back to my example, if the match is scheduled at 2, it's to be over at 3:30. So you have to stop 5 minutes before 3:30 to figure out where you are. Hey, Katrina, I'm not sure what you mean by how would you enter that score? Which example? Okay, I see you now. Games are tied, 4-6-2-4. Score is current game 15-30. The current game of 15-30 isn't in play because that one's not finished. So you're giving me 4-6-4-2. So it's tied 8-8. The person that won 4 games in the first set has won 4 games in the second set, and the other person won 6-2. So you've got a tie of 8 games each in that example. Again, Katrina's example to me is 4-6-4-2. So this situation, both players are tied, so they'd play one more point to determine who the winner is. So she also has written in here that someone's serving in a game that's 15-30. Whoever's serving in that game is going to serve one more point, and the receiver will get to select the side, and that will determine the final score of that match. And whoever wins that point, you'll either add it to the 4 or the 2. Whoever won that will have one more game. Okay, Kelly, did I answer your question about clarifying who serves in a tiebreak with what I just said? Or should I go? Oh, okay, thanks. Okay, and I have one more that's more summer related. Has any consideration been given to player who plays up being mandated to play in the bottom of the lineup? Actually, you're asking for like an order of strength rule. National regulations do not allow for any kind of rule that requires or mandates order of strength. So there isn't a way for us to write a local rule that would address that kind of an issue. So we can't write a rule because the national rules say that there is no order of strength. All courts are considered equal. Any other questions? And as I've had this slide up, just to let you know, all of you are kind of seeing when things will get started. We've got playoff dates on there. We're looking to start that mixed 40 and over mid-May, and the adult 18s, the Monday matches will start a little bit earlier just because we lose holidays with Memorial Day and the 4th of July this year. Everything else will start up right before Memorial Day, and we're looking at playoffs later into the year then. Any other questions? Oh, okay. Just a second. I see a couple more in here. What days does the singles play? For our Winter League, they play Saturdays and Sundays. And it could be different times, just depends on what the clubs give us for court availability. Most of them are like afternoons, early evenings. Okay, and then someone asked what days for the mixed league for the upcoming season. We are strongly encouraging Friday nights, but Saturdays and Sundays can be used. Last session was really Friday nights, and again, we're pushing to get everything moved over into just the Friday nights for mixed, but for this session you might have an occasional Saturday or Sunday. Okay, Teresa, I'm going to try you. Single starts at 2, let's say, and there's a lesson that's going on. They should have to quit even if they got out. I'm not sure. Are you questioning if they got out late? You'd have to take that up with your club. I mean, I would take it up with them to just tell them that this is a time league that's going on and you have the court at 2. I would hope that they could encourage their pros to have their balls picked up and vacate the court at 2 so that you can get down there and get going. Schedules, let me see if that was on one of the other slides. I can give you a generic answer on the schedules as I scroll down here and make everyone dizzy. With schedules, you'll see them 2 weeks before your first match. We're scheduled to start January 20th on that weekend, so it'll be 2 weeks before that is when we'll have the schedules out. That's always our target mark, is a 2-week heads up. Any other questions? Okay, Katrina, you have questions about rescheduling? Okay, is it more a question of how to reschedule or a question about what if you can't reschedule? Okay, if you can't reschedule. Okay. The biggest thing with that has to do with whether or not you have at least a minimum number of people to play. If you have at least 2 courts, you should play that match. You don't have to always have all 3 courts. If you play at least 2, that's a minimum number of matches required to field the match. So in many cases, people will try to reschedule when they're short a court. and maybe the other team just isn't able to. That doesn't mean you should just abandon that. You should play that match with just 2 courts, either the 2 singles courts or first and second doubles. If the other team, okay, someone's asking if the visiting team has to forfeit a court, who should notify the club? The person that's forfeiting the court, our rules state that they're responsible to let the other captain know as well as the club. I know sometimes that the home captains have said, I will let my club know, but just as a visiting captain, you're always encouraged to also call the club and let them know. Each of our facilities has a point person for leagues, and if you need to know who that person is, you can find that on our website as well, or you can send me an email and I can tell you who you should get in contact with to leave a message for them to let them know that you have to forfeit. You should just do that to cover yourself. And I appreciate the home captains that also take it upon themselves to let the club know. It can't ever hurt. Katrina, you're concerned about not being able to reschedule. What specifically are you looking at? If there's problems with the other person cooperating with you, or okay, if there's bad weather and you just can't find a time that works, you really have to just kind of play that weather situation by ear and try to work together with each other. But the tough thing is, it's going to have that new date and time in place before the originally scheduled match. Now, if there's something horrible that has gone on and all the roads are closed, that's a different situation than just a regular reschedule. If we're talking, something that's an entire area-wide situation where no one's going anywhere, that's different than a quote voluntary unquote reschedule. Yeah, and it's tough. It is tough for all the facilities to find additional courts because, like I'd said earlier, they give me their court availability and they have other programs that they're scheduling around. And with you being at varsity, that facility's there first for the teams, and if they have an event coming in, you're really limited on what you may have available to put anything into. Additionally, they have a real tough time with untimed matches for mixed doubles. So, we're working with them, but we have to kind of scoot around that a little bit. The singles matches, that's a little easier. They understand, time on, time off. And the same way with the other clubs. It's easier for them to plug those matches in because they know that court time has been sold. I can put something in right behind it or right in front of it, and it works. Okay. Any other questions? Okay, well, if I don't see anything else popping up here, that's all I have tonight. And good luck. Thank you for being captains. I know we've got some new ones tonight. We've got some old timers that have been around for a while. And again, we appreciate what you do, and hopefully your teammates appreciate it. And if you have any questions, send me an email, give us a shout here at the office, and we'll see what we can do for you. Anything else tonight? All right. Thanks. Have a good holiday, all of you too. Thank you.